You might have noticed a haze hanging over the city.
Yeah, as Amber Wheeler shows us, it is actually being caused by smoke that's drifted all the way from Canada.
You may have noticed a haze in the sky this morning when you went to work or school, and it's from the Canadian wildfires that are still burning well over 1,500 miles away. The smoke we're seeing right now originated from Ontario and Quebec, and according to Natural Resources Canada, there are nearly 70 wildfires here burning right now. Most are deemed out of control. The smoke that they produce lifts up into the upper atmosphere and gets picked up by stronger winds aloft. And in this case, the smoke rose into the upper levels of the atmosphere and was carried around the rim of this high that's been dominating the eastern United States for really the better part of almost a week. And it's moved down into the Gulf, as you can see. Most of southeastern Louisiana have seen the smoke and haze, and it's affected the air we breathe. It's been so thick that the air quality dropped to unhealthy levels. So for those with respiratory issues, you may have been experiencing some breathing issues for today. And if you're wondering what these numbers mean in the air quality index, well, think of it like a measuring stick for air quality, like a yardstick. The higher the number, the worse that we're going to see pollutants. The lower the number, the cleaner the air will be. Now, if you want to stay informed with the day's air quality report, you can head to our website, fox8live.com.